Welcome to Crochet 101. For more information about this series and all other videos in the series, you can check out the Crochet 101 playlist on my profile. Today we're going to chat through weaving in ends. So in our last tutorial, we made this really basic coaster pattern, and while it is finished, it does not look finished. You need to weave in your ends, and so you're going to take that needle that I told you were going to need, and we've used a couple of times so far. You are going to thread your yarn onto your needle. And I weave in ends with an overabundance of caution. I weave in ends probably more than some other people do, just because it makes me feel better to have them super secure. So you're going to take it and you want to try and weave in ends on the back side of your work if you have a back side of your work. So the inside of a sweater, the back side of a coaster, things like that. So we are going to take this needle and you are going to work it under the stitches that you worked. And I tend to try and while I try and move with the stitches, I tend to also try and change direction a little bit as I go. I want to make it very, very, very difficult for this end to try and get out of this weave. So I am just going to continue to work this around. Again, I'm following a pattern of I am following the direction of stitches, but I am changing direction and kind of flowing with the direction as I go. And especially depending on what the purpose of the item is, I may weave in the ends a little bit more or a little bit less. Something that's going to be worn, or like a blanket where it's going to be stretched and moved around a lot, I really want to make sure that my ends are secure. This end here won't unravel the project if it comes out, which is an important thing to note, because this was like at the end of a knot basically. If this comes out, it's just going to be a little bit messy, but you don't want like this end over here coming out. So I'm just going to continue this on for a moment. And then for my last run, I like to find a good little run of stitches. I will run this through. I will pull it a little bit taut. I will snip my end as close to my project as possible without actually cutting my project. And then I will loosen this up again. And now the end of my end is like buried under some stitches and you can't see it peeking out at all. And you can see a couple of places where I wove it through, but you really can't tell where that end ended up. So now we're going to do the same thing for this end here. There are ways to make even cleaner endings for your projects. It involves a little bit of finagling of yarn, so that's why we didn't go over it this time. But for this one, so we're going to take this end and I am going to push it through the middle of this stitch next to it here and just pull this loop a little bit more neatly closed. And I am going to work this end behind in the exact same fashion I did the other one, following the stitches, but trying to adjust my direction so they're not just all in one direction. And I'm once again going to find a good run of stitches, pull it slightly, gathered slightly. I'm going to snip as close to my project as I can. And then I'm going to move this around to loosen it up, and you have no idea where that end was. You can see like a little bit of a bump here. We can work on some more advanced techniques later for closing this up more neatly, but for now, there is your coaster, perfect for holding your beverages, your coffee, perfect for gifting to your friends and family who are supporting your first crochet projects, and I will see you guys next time for our next lesson.